back to Inner Peace Better Health with Saima, the transformation meets truth. Tonight, we are joined with the brilliant Dr. Albert Bramante, talent agent, performance psychologist, and mindset master to high achievers. With over 20 years of experience decoding what holds people back, he's here to talk about one of the deepest breakthroughs of all resilience through inner child healing. So, let's dig into the roots so we can rise. So, Albert, you coach high performers, yet you say the inner child often holds the keys to their success. Why is that?
Well, the I work with performers as well as mainly actors, but also any performing artist, and it's deals. I work with mindset and the importance of cultivating a growth mindset. So, what I do day to day, in addition to being an agent, is work with actors and improve their booking rates by just getting the voice outside their head, as well as developing more of a performance mindset. So I use a lot of visualization techniques, which I can discuss. I also use a lot of different language approaches to things. So there's a lot of things I'd often do.
hmm So, can you share a moment from your own life where, like, connecting with your inner child changed the game?
100% connected to the inner child is a very important work. Now, I'm also a hypnotherapist. So one of the things we do very often with the clients work, one of the things I'm trained in is, connecting to and embracing the inner child and, cultivating a relationship with that inner child. So, and very often, a lot of times, especially with performers, their inner child is always wanting to kind of like break free and always wanted to perform. So for me, connecting with the inner child was learning to love the inner child, my inner child, because in a sense, it's an extension of me.
That's actually so real, it's so easy to build a strong mind, but forget the soft parts that still make tending, no?
100%. Because a lot of times we're so focused in being in service to others, which is great, by the way. But what we're not doing is being service to ourselves. And if you think about it, how can we really be service of others if we're neglecting ourselves?
Absolutely. Now, as a performance psychologist, how do you define resilience, beyond just toughing it out?
Well, I mean, resilience is that I mean, it's much more complicated and much more nuanced than just toughing it out. It's learning to not only just tough it out, but to enjoy it and to take the lessons that you've learned. There's in my viewpoint, I always feel like there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. So taking even the tough moments and turning them into teachable moments, like and channeling them into opportunities for growth rather than challenges or things to be, focusing the negativity on. Look at it like as a way to grow. How can this make you grow? How can this experience make you grow or enable you to grow and to
Mhm.
become stronger? So it's transforming the negative into positive in a sense. It's almost like a form of alchemy, which because alchemy is like turning lead into gold. So turning our, experiences, negative experience into golden opportunity.
So, can you share one mindset shift you offer clients when they're feeling stuck or defeated?
When I feel defeated, I would say, always remember why connect to your why. Why are you doing this? And oftentimes, especially for actors or performers, they want to tell stories. They want to embody different characters. So they want to and they want to just bring a story to life. And so connect to that root. Day to day, just remember why you're doing this and connect to the source of why you want to be a performer.
Mm-hmm. Love that, resilience. It's like resilience isn't about pushing harder, but it's about recovering smarter.
100%. It's not necessarily, I mean, yes, the toughness is important, but it's about being smarter and being more intelligent and adapting to. That's about being resilient, is adapting to it. adapting to the changes, adapting to the setbacks, and channeling them into more positive outcomes. What's a growth that can come out of this?
Now, how does hypnosis or NLP come into play when someone is battling deep emotional or mental blocks?
Well, it's working with the subconscious mind. So we have two levels of mind. You have the conscious mind, which is what we're using right now in communicating, but there's also a subconscious mind, which is a real deeper influence on a personality. And it's
Mhm.
a deep impact in the way we approach life. So hypnosis and NLP kind of also targets the subconscious mind. Um, yeah, and going back to even what I said earlier about the language you use. So when I work with actors, the one thing I will often say, or any performer, is don't use what's the vocabulary you use, both outward and inward. So yeah, I say avoid, but one of the phrases to avoid is I'm a struggling artist or I'm a starving artist. Rather turn it into I'm a professional, successful working artist or working actor or just working professional. I'm a successful professional because even if there may not be out external metrics for success, one, you're doing what you love, and two, you're happy. So that's already successful internally. So have that mantra going on and on. I'm a successful person. I'm a successful working actor.
Mm-hmm. That's noteworthy. So, are there any misconceptions around these tools that you'd like to clear up?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the outside community has a lot of misconceptions about hypnosis and NLP. When I say misconceptions, a lot of people think, NLP, they think manipulation, or they think hypnosis that, I'm going to make someone cluck like a chicken, because they see the hypnosis shows or comedy shows in Vegas or at different venues. And the point about it is these tools are very important and can yield powerful transformation, by transforming limiting beliefs. So, one thing is you cannot hypnosis cannot make anyone do anything that they're morally opposed to or ethically opposed to, no matter how skilled the hypnotist is. We cannot change free will. We cannot alter free will
Mm-hmm.
of another
That, Mhm. That's actually so helpful. It's like, it's not magic, it's about accessing what's already inside us, right?
Exactly. It's connecting to your inner wisdom. See, we also, and my personal viewpoint, and a lot of people in my community share the fact that we have all the answers we need. The our higher selves provide us the wisdom to guide us through our life's purposes. And very often, what happens here is we just ignore it. We start ignoring it through conventional training. Conventional traditional training tells us to kind of ignore that little voice inside of us. And so part of hypnosis and NLP is getting connected to that again, listening to yourself and adopting the wisdom that you hear within. See, I look at myself as just a facilitator. When I'm working with somebody, I'm just a facilitator. I'm not, you know, I'm just helping you connect to your inner wisdom.
Now, working with talent and entertainment where image is everything. So, how do you guide them to inner peace when external pressure is
The external pressure is high, and again, just remember, be committed to it. Committed to your why. Remember the source again of why you're doing this. Also, keep a journal. Now, I call this like the happy file or a happy journal. So you take an actual physical journal, not an online thing, an actual like old fashioned notebook or a journal book, and you write down all the good things that happened, whether it's a good audition, you get good feedback from performance, from your acting teacher or from a director, and you document this in your happy file. You get a good review or you get an audience member who comes up and says a great performance. Document that. And this way, when the pressure is high or when there's a lot of no's, you take a look, you pull out the happy file and you remember why you're here.
Mm-hmm. So, how can we apply that same advice in our everyday lives, even, outside the spotlight?
Well, inside the spotlight, even if you're going for job interviews or you get uh, a good performance evaluation on a job, or even just someone compliments you. If you're in customer service, the customer says, you provided great service today, or your boss gives you a employee gives you a good performance review. Keep a record of that so that when self doubt kicks in, you pull out that file, and now you know why you're here. Um, and also just anytime that there's a meeting going on, the one thing you should always do is visualize it that it's going well, even before it happens. You know, the mind does not know the difference between fiction and reality. So if you imagine yourself doing very, very well in anything that you're about to do, whether it's about to give a presentation or about to give a speech or going on a job interview, or you have that audition, just run it through your mind that it's going very, very well before it happens. And there's a good chance of it's called positive visualization, and a lot of even scientific studies back this up. So visualizing yourself doing very, very well is what's more important. And the same thing, unfortunately, the other side can happen too when people dwell on what can go wrong. Unfortunately, things will go wrong if you focus on that.
Hmm. That hits home. We are all performing in some way at work, in relationships, even with ourselves, right?
100%. Yes.
Mhm. So, can you
Very
share
good.
one small daily ritual you'd like to recommend to start?
Very simple meditation or just deep reflection, even if you're not into meditate, just sit for 5 minutes in the morning and even 5 minutes before, where you're winding down for the bed, and just focus on the good things that happen the day, and visualize the next day going very, very well. And even some mantras that I often say to repeat over and over again is I deserve to be here. I'm successful. I worked hard. I deserve my seat at the table, the big table or whatever you want to look at it. And even like another mantra that we often say is, every day in every way I'm getting better and better.
Mhm.
And you repeat that like at least 5 or 10 times in one, setting. Preferably the more the obviously the better. So even 10, 20 times. I deserve to be here, or even every day in every way I'm getting better and better.
Mhm. So, how do we know that it's working if the healing isn't loud or obvious?
Well, it may not be necessarily dramatic, where it's like gonna be this extra. It's a skill, just like riding a bicycle. A skill is a skill, or playing an instrument is a skill. So it's working on our mindset. So it's going to take daily practice, daily implementation, daily consistency. That's what's going to be important. And start looking at little shifts, little things, even tiny things. There's so many great things that I think we overlook that may be even small on scale, but there's over time they add up and they compound. So take a look at the little shifts in your life, um, on a day to day basis, and celebrate those.
Mm-hmm. It's sometimes peace doesn't roar, it whispers, and that's still progress, no?
Hmm. It's very slow gradual process, and it's a work in progress.
Exactly. Can resilience be learned, or is it something we are born?
I would say some people may be more easier than others to be resilient, but it's everybody can do it. It's learned. Now some people again may be more prone to that, depending on their lineage, because I also believe that we kind of inherit some of the traumas from our ancestors. So there's a little bit of ancestral trauma that can sometimes creep in. But I often say just, by having a support system is important, vital. Now ideally, if it's not from our parents, from family, from friends, from mentors, but having a support system is vital for resilience
Mhm.
and a good tribe in a sense.
That's an empowering perspective.
100%, yes.
So, how would you, describe inner child work to someone who's never heard of it?
I would say, to try to break it down because it might sound a little esoteric in the beginning, but I often say is, it's connecting to a part of you. It's you. We're just going back to an earlier time. Um, so I might have them, visualize positive experiences, memories first when they were a child. Maybe they were playing with their friends or, out with their family having a good time. Remember, connect to those memories first. And then, at that point, then kind of go back and then come, as you're visiting that memory, now I'd say go back as the adult and stand next to that child of you version of you. And then talk to that child in a sense. And I use a lot of patience. It may take a while for that to happen, for a person to be able to do that, but talk to that child, embrace that child in a sense. Um, and just tell that child you love them. It's really you, and but I kind of make it as a third person, like you, the adult, or the child version of you,
That was such a clear and compassionate explanation. You met some.
because it is one of the biggest, I think, tools of self compassion is to be able to embrace your inner child.
Exactly. So, can you share some signs that.
I would say, anxiety, general anxiety, depression, sad moods, low, if they feel stuck, um, or, or they kind of feel that they're always kind of like being victimized or having victim mentality, or always like feel underappreciated, or they feel like, nothing's ever going right for them, or they're just never happy. And that would be a sign that somebody really could use some inner child work or inner child wisdom.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Thank you, Albert, for reminding us that resilience doesn't mean being invincible, it means being in tune. And for
Of
all our
course.
listeners, healing
Yeah,
isn't just for the broken, it's for the brave, right?
absolutely. And even seeking help, the one thing would love your listeners to I hope that they want to understand that seeking help and support is actually a sign of strength, not weakness.
Exactly. So, your inner child isn't behind you, it's within you. Start listening, start loving, and step into your highest self. Until next time, breathe, believe, and be kind to yourself.